Hi there. Okay, we are on part two of creating a plan for a winning business. And the second part is competitive analysis. You've heard that term probably many times. Now remember, we've done ideation already. We've got a pretty good idea and we're convinced this is worth spending some time on and doing some detailed planning. Now we're in part two, or the second step of actually creating a plan for the business. And this is all about learning about your competition, because these are the folks you're going to have to beat. So let's get on with it. So the first step is quite simply the identification of the competitors. Go figure, huh? You got to know who they are. Well, how do you figure that out? Well, you're in an industry and you've talked to some customers, you've done this market analysis, you have obviously learned about some of the alternatives that your potential customers have for other solutions, whatever problems they have that need to be solved. And you're right in there with them, at least you think so. We're going to do some more analysis to figure that out. But you identify them. So you don't have to kind of look into every single competitor that walks the face of the earth. You really want to focus on those that have a potential solution for the very same need that you're trying to fulfill, the same need. That's the definition of a competitor. If they're solving the same need as you could be doing it some entirely different way, some entirely different approach, but it's the need that they're trying to fulfill, and you've got to beat them at that game. Simple as that. So you identify who they are. You can go all over Google. You might find other companies that may be competitors to you, but you're mainly going to find out from the people that have the need, and they are probably looking to other companies that claim to be able to help them. You want to be one of them. In fact, you want to be the one that they do business with. You may be in a situation where you have found many competitors, many, like dozens. You don't need to do an assessment of every single one of them. But you got to get yourself isolated into the maybe 2, 3, 4 that are the most influential and the ones you certainly are going to be up against most of the time. Pick the best, 2 to 4 of the best, the ones that you know you're going to meet in the marketplace, and you select them as those are the ones I'm going to do further analysis on. You probably have heard about them also when you talk to your potential customers in your market research. So this all kind of comes together as you engage more with potential customers in the market you're choosing to play in. So selection is an important step. You don't have to select every one that walks the face of the earth, just the top 3 or 4. That's it. Then, once you've selected them, you do your analysis of each of them in some depth. And you've heard this before, the SWOT analysis, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You've heard this before. This is, though, a very serious undertaking by you, because you want to know what their strengths are. You want to know what your strengths are, too. You certainly want to know what their weaknesses are, because you're going to go up against them in a competitive race to win customer business by showing that you're better than them and that you don't have the same weaknesses. There may be all sorts of opportunities as well. Maybe there are some needs that you could be fulfilling that your competitor doesn't at all. Or you, in your research, discover they're solving some opportunities that you weren't aware of, and maybe you got to do something about it. So that kind of also falls into a threat kind of category. So other threats could be they've been in the business longer, they're well financed, they've got a great management team, and the list goes on. So you do your SWOT analysis. One of the tools I strongly suggest that entrepreneurs use is, I call it a competitive matrix, where you list down the left column of a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet all of the main features and capabilities that customers want. And then the next columns are your company and the other 2 or 3 companies. And you indicate in the cell appropriately, next on the same row is a feature or a capability, what you have versus what they have. So it could be yeses and nos, or it could be a number in terms of a quantitative measurement. So your SWOT analysis can result in this, quite frankly, a checklist of how you stack up against these competitors. It helps you summarize all your strengths against them one by one. Patterns emerge that will allow you to summarize the strengths that you have against these competitors. So that's a SWOT analysis. It provides you a lot of raw material from which to develop your strategy. But before that, you try to summarize what you've learned from this competitive analysis, your SWOT analysis, and your checklist. A competitive summary is a paragraph or two that says, here is how I'm going to beat them. And you're going to capitalize on your strengths, exploit their weaknesses, grasp new opportunities, and avoid the threats that exist in your market or the threats that they might have to you. One by one, knock them off with, how are you going to do this? And then when you do your operating plan, you actually have to implement what you're talking about in this competition summary. It becomes a competitive strategy, a strategy to win. A strategy to win outlines all of what I just mentioned from your competitive summary, but you put it into action. In your operating plan. Pretty straightforward, huh? So now, this took a whole lot less time than the market research we talked about yesterday, right? But it's very, very important. You must win. You must be a clear winner. You must be this must-have solution because you're so superior to anyone else who tries to solve the same issue that you do. So you have a strategy to win as a result of all this work. In summary, this is part 2 of how to create a plan for a winning business, and it is a really important step. It follows what you've done to talk about the market opportunity. Now you're going to talk about who the other players are and how you're going to beat them. Do that and have a winning strategy to beat your competition as you win over in this market. Have a great day.